Hello, my friends. It's Nick, the ASMR nerd. And today I'm doing something a bit different than my usual. Today I'm going to be reading you some Norse mythology. And this was a special request from our awesome community member, Romulus. And that's because Romulus was the lucky winner of my Twitch partner celebration stream grand prize giveaway a few weeks back. And the prize, as you can probably guess, was a custom video of his choosing. This was the topic that he chose, and he has very kindly chosen to share this video with all of you as well. So big thanks to Romulus for the idea for this video and for sharing it with everybody here. Speaking of which, Romulus just started his very own ASMR channel here on YouTube. You can check it out at Nightly ASMR. Nightly ASMR, as in a knight in shining armor. It's a clever play on words. I think that's fun. I like it. And if you enjoy this video, you will probably enjoy Nightly ASMR's videos as well, because he has content of a mythological bent. His first video is a reading from the Iliad. So I'll put a link down in the video description where you can go check out Nightly ASMR. Please give him a sub. Check it out. Also, speaking of giveaways, if you are watching this the day it comes out, you, my friends, are in luck, because I have teamed up with a handful of other awesome gaming ASMR creators to run a giveaway in which you have a chance to win Cyberpunk 2077 or one of a number of Steam or Amazon gift cards. It will be ending quite soon after this video goes up, so you better hurry. But if you are in time, that link will be down below in the video description, and you can get yourself signed up to potentially win one of those. And if you are looking for the secret code that will get you extra entries and increase your chances of winning, it is ASMR Gaming. All one word, ASMR Gaming. Capitals, all one word. I'll put that down below in the video description as well. So please take advantage of that giveaway. Go enter that code on Gleam and get yourself signed up to potentially win some cool stuff. And also, please follow and subscribe to all the other awesome creators that are participating in this giveaway. They are all fantastic, and doing so increases your chances of winning as well. So once again, link down below in the video description if that contest is still running. If it's not there, I'm afraid you've missed the boat. The contest is over. Alright, so without further ado, let's take a look at what we've got in front of us here. I actually have two books here. The first is the one that we're going to be reading from. This is a primary source for Norse mythology. It is the Prose Edda. The Prose Edda, which is where we get a good portion of our knowledge about Norse creation myths and these kinds of things. And this is where the actual reading is going to take place. But we also have here a book called The World of the Vikings by Richard Hall. And while the Prose Edda is awesome read, and has many really cool stories and myths in it. This particular version, at least, is very light on the pictures. Really no pictures. So, to spice things up a bit, we're going to open the world of the Vikings here, which is more of a, an anthropological and archaeological perspective on the Vikings. And we're just going to flip through and find some neat pictures, maybe a neat picture that we can just sort of have in the background while we read. This book has all kinds of lovely images, and we're just gonna look for one that we can put in the background for just a little bit of visual interest. Well, while we read the Prose Edda. That's kind of neat. We've got swords and looks like brooch pins and things over here, maybe. I'm not sure. Cloak pins. Yeah, a brooch of silver here. Oh, what shall we do, you guys? What shall we? This is kind of neat. Stone carvings of warriors. Oh, I like that one. It looks like we have a bunch of images of bangles, rings, jewelry, coins, and amulets, perhaps. It says here over here, part of the silver hoard from Spillings, Otham, Gotland, Sweden. Deposited circa 867. I think that will do quite nicely. So why don't we leave that as our backdrop for our reading here. Again, just for a little visual interest. This is all very appropriately timed, you might notice, because, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out recently. I did some video content on that, and I think that's part of what inspired Romulus/Nightly ASMR to suggest this video today. So, let's get to the meat of it. The Prose Edda. We have a little information here about the author, so this provides some important context. The Prose Edda was written by one Snorri Sturluson. Who lived from 1179 to 1241. And it says here that Snorri Sturluson was born in western Iceland, the son of an upstart Icelandic chieftain. In the early 13th century, Snorri rose to become Iceland's richest and, for a time, its most powerful leader. Twice he was elected law speaker at the Althing, Iceland's national assembly, and twice he went abroad to visit Norwegian royalty. An ambitious and sometimes ruthless leader, Snorri was also a man of learning, with deep interests in the myth, poetry, and history of the Viking Age. He has long been assumed to be the author of some of medieval Iceland's greatest works, including the Prose Edda, which we have here, and the Heimskringla, the latter a saga history of the kings of Norway. And this has been translated, this particular version was translated by a professor named Jesse Pionk at UCLA. So, we're going to jump on in. Now, this is a pretty substantial work. There's a lot here. We're going to actually skip the prologue. We're going to jump straight into the Gylfi here, which, as I understand it, includes a lot of creation myth and that sort of thing. That starts on page 9, so let's head over there. this. I am no scholar of Norse mythology. I have never read this cover to cover, and I will mispronounce a lot of the names and words in here. It's just how it's going to be, so I apologize for anybody who might be bothered by that, but I will do my best. I'll do my best to get close to the correct pronunciations. So, we'll see how far we get. This is pretty long, but each myth, or each portion, or chapter, is actually, pretty short in itself, so we'll get through a few, I'm sure. Gylfi, the deluding of Gylfi. Part 1. King Gylfi and the woman Gefjun. King Gylfi ruled over the lands now called Sweden. It is said that he offered a traveling woman, in return for the pleasure of her company, a piece of plowland in his kingdom as large as 4 oxen could plow in a day and a night. But this woman, named Gefjun, was of the Aesir. She took 4 oxen from Jotunheim, the giant land in the north. They were her own sons by a giant, and she yoked them to the plow, which dug so hard and so deep that it cut the land loose. The oxen dragged this land westward out to sea, stopping finally at a certain channel. There, Gefjun fastened the land and gave it the name Sjaland, or Sjaland, perhaps. The place where the land was removed has since become a body of water in Sweden, now called Logren, the lake. And it is this lake, and in this lake, there are as many inlets as there are headlands in Sjaland. So says the poet Bragi the Old. Gefjun dragged from Gylfi gladly the land beyond value, Denmark's increase, steam rising from the swift-footed bulls. The oxen bore 8 moons on the forehead and 4 heads, hauling as they went in front of the grassy isle's wide fissure. And we've actually got a couple of footnotes here, so let's go to those footnotes, because I think it'll tell us a little bit more, maybe about the geography situation. The footnotes are way back here somewhere. There we go. Footnote number 1 refers to Sjaland, which is actually the large island in Denmark. So that's kind of the creation myth for that landmass. And then we've also got Logren. The lake is an old name for Lake Mälar in Sweden. Okay, I'm not familiar with Lake Mälar, but that's neat. The idea being, of course, that, they pulled the land from where the lake is and dragged it out to sea. Part 2. Gylfi encounters the 3 chieftains of the Aesir. King Gylfi was a wise man skilled in magic. He was amazed that the Aesir knew so much that everything went according to their wishes. He wondered whether this was because of their own nature, or whether it came from the divine power of the gods they worshipped. He set out on a secret trip to Asgard and changed into the likeness of an old man to disguise himself. But the Aesir, because they had the gift of prophecy, were the wiser in such matters. Before before his arrival, they foresaw his coming, and in preparation for him, they conjured up visual illusions. When he entered the fortress, he saw a hall. It was so high that he could scarcely see over it, and golden shields covered its roof like shingles. As Theodulf of Hivin says, Valhalla, the hall of the slain, was roofed with shields. On their backs they let shine hall shingles of Svafnir Odin. When bombarded with stones, those resourceful men, and we actually have a couple of footnotes here, we've got a footnote here about the name of this section. We've got one here about Theodulf of Hivin, and we had another as well. Can't remember where it was, but let's flip back here and see what we can find. It says here, Gylfi encounters Aesir. The preceding first short story of Gefjun has long been considered to be a later addition to the original manuscript. If this is so, then Gylfaginning began at this point with what we're now calling Chapter 2. Very interesting. Oh yes, conjured up visual illusions, it says here. What does that mean? This text, or the text, employs the word, oh my gosh, sjónhverfing, with the sense of an optical illusion. In medieval Iceland, sjónhverfing was understood to be the result of spells, part of a popular form of magic called galder. And then we've got this Theodulf of Hivin. Theodulf of Hivin, or Vinir, was a Norwegian skald in the court of King Harald Fairhair around the year 900. He's credited with composing Ynglingatal, the counting of the Ynglings. That's probably not how to pronounce that. A poem treating mythological subjects and offering a genealogy of the kings of Sweden. Okay. Gylfi saw a man in the doorway of the hall. He was juggling short swords and had 7 in the air at once. Oh my gosh. The man spoke first, asking the visitor's name. Gylfi named himself Gangleri, saying that he had traveled over trackless paths. He asked for a night's lodging and inquired who owned the hall. The man answered that it belonged to their king. I can take you to see him, then you can ask his name yourself. The man turned and went ahead into the hall. Gylfi followed him, and immediately the door closed after him. He saw many living areas there, and groups of people. Some were playing games, some were drinking, and some had weapons and were fighting. He looked around, and it seemed to him that much of what he was seeing was incredible. Then he said, "All doorways before entering, gaze into carefully. One never knows where on the benches enemies are sitting," which is cited from the sayings of the High One. Interesting. He saw 3 thrones, each one higher than the other. 3 men sat there, one in each seat. He asked the name of their ruler. The man guided high seats. He was called High. Next came the one called just as high, while the one highest up was called Third. Then High asked the new arrival if there was some more pressing cause of his visit, although he was welcome to food and drink, as were all in the hall of the High One. Gylfi replied that he wanted to know first whether there was a wise man in the hall. High said that Gylfi would not escape unharmed unless he grew wiser, adding, "Stand forward while you inquire. The one who recounts shall sit." Interesting. And we have a footnote here for Third, one of the rulers. Or for that whole sentence, I guess. So here we are. High, just as high, and Third are all names for Odin. So these must be aspects of Odin, perhaps. Spoilers, I guess. Part 3. The All-Father. Gangleri began to question, who is the highest or the oldest of all the gods? High replied, he is called All-Father in our language, but in Asgard the Old he has 12 names. One is All-Father, the second is Heron or Herion, Lord. A third is Nikar or Nikar, Thruster. Oh my. A fourth is Nikus or Nikud, also Thruster. A fifth is Fjolnir, Wise One. A sixth, Oski, Fulfiller of Desire. A seventh, Omi, Resounding One. An eighth, Biflidi or Biflindi, Spear Shaker. A ninth, Svidar. A 10th, Svidrir. An 11th, Vidrir, Ruler of Weather. And a 12th, Jalg or Jalk, Gelding. Then Gangleri asked, where is this god? What is he capable of doing? And what outstanding deeds has he done? High replied, he lives through all ages and governs all things in his realm. He decides all matters, great or small. Then, just as High said, he made heaven, earth, and the skies, and everything in them. Then, Third said, most important, he created man, and gave him a living spirit that will never die, even if the body rots to dust or burns to ashes. All men who are righteous shall live and be with him in the place called Gimli, I'm not sure, or Vingolf. But evil men go to hell, and from there to Niflheim, dark hell, which is below in the 9th world. Gangleri then asked, what did he do before heaven and earth were created? High answered, back then he was with the frost giants. So we have a couple of notes here about Hel and Niflheim. So let us learn. So in this case, Hel refers to the world of the dead, a pre-Christian concept. Nifl comes from Nifl, an old word that means mist, fog, and darkness. At the time the Edda was written, the word was already obsolete, but remained in many mythological compounds, Aesir in Nifl, a place seemingly different from hell, where the worst of men underwent a kind of second death, it says. Some manuscripts confuse Nifl with Niflheim. I should say it's Niflhel. I've been mispronouncing. It's not Nifl, it's Niflhel. Some manuscripts confuse Niflhel with Niflheim, the dark world of freezing mists. Okay, so we've got two dark worlds. We've got Niflhel, which is a very bad place where you experience a second death, and Niflheim, which sounds dark but maybe not as bad. And as a matter of fact, we're about to learn about Niflheim. Niflheim and Muspellsheim. Gangleri asked, what was the beginning, or how did things start? What was there before? I answered, as it says in the Sibyl's prophecy, early of ages, when nothing was, there was neither sand, nor sea, nor cold waves. The earth was not found, nor the sky above. Ginnungagap, we'll say. Ginnungagap was there, but grass nowhere. From the Sibyl's Prophecy, Part 3. Let's learn about Ginnungagap, because that's a fascinating word that I'm not familiar with. The Great Void before creation. Okay, well that makes some sense. Next, just as I said, Niflheim, translated here as Dark World, was made many ages before the earth was created, and at its center is the spring called Bergelmir, the roaring kettle. I love that imagery. From there flow those rivers called Svol, Gunthra, Fjorm, Fimbulthul, Slid, and Rid, Silg, and Yilg, Vid, and Leipter. Also there is Gjol, which lies next to Helgrund, the gates of hell. Then Third said, first, however, there was that world in the southern region, which is called Muspel. It is bright and hot. That region flames and burns and is impossible for foreigners and those who cannot claim it as their, or impassable for foreigners and those who cannot claim it as their native land. Surt, the Black One, is the name of he who waits there at the land's edge to defend it. He has a flaming sword, and when the end of the world comes, he will set off to battle and defeat all the gods, burning the whole world with fire. So it is said in the Sibyl's prophecy. Surt comes from the south, with the fiery destruction of branches. The sun shines from the sword of the gods of the slain. Stone cliffs tumble, and troll witches stumble. Men tread the road to hell as the sky splits apart. So this is a prophecy of the end of the world. We do have a couple more footnotes here. We have a Muspel, and we have talking about troll witches. languages. Let's see what we can learn there. Muspel. The text sometimes uses the shortened name Muspel, related to the Old High German and Old Saxon Muspelli, Muspi, and Muspel. These names are found in Christian poems and carry the meaning of doomsday, that is, the end of the world. I see. And the line troll witches stumble. The verb rata, translated here as stumble, has at least three meanings. To travel, in the sense of moving about or roaming, to find one's way, and to fall or crash. It is unclear which meaning is intended. But the stumble translation makes for some nice rhyming between tumble and stumble, so I guess that's what our translator decided to go with. Alright, part 5, we have the Ginnungagap, or Ginnungagap, and the emergence of Ymir, or Ymir perhaps. Gangleri asked, how were things set up before the different families came into being and mankind increased? I replied, when those rivers, which are called Elivagar, storm waves, came so far from their source, the poisonous flow hardened like a slag of cinders running from a furnace and became ice. When this ice began to solidify and no longer ran, poisonous drops spewed out and froze into icy rime, translated here as hoarfrost. Then, layer by layer, the ice grew within Ginnungagap, or Ginnungagap. That's a tough word. Then, just as I said, that part of Ginnungagap, which reached into the northern regions, became filled with thick ice and rime. Inside the gap there was mist and wind-whipped rain. But the southern part of Ginnungagap grew light because of sparks and glowing embers flowing from Muspellsheim. Then Third spoke. Just as a coldness and all things grim came from Niflheim, the regions bordering on Muspel were warm and bright, and Ginnungagap was as mild as a windless sky. So we've got an area in between, basically, that seems hospitable. It thawed and dripped at the point where the icy rime and the warm winds met. There was a quickening in these flowing drops, and life sprang up, taking its force from the power that sent the heat. The likeness of a man appeared, and he was named Ymir. The frost giants called him Bergelmir, and from him come the clans of the frost giants, as it says in the shorter Sibyl's prophecy. All the seeresses are from Vidolf, all the wizards from Vilmeid, but the sorcerers are from Svarthofdi, and all the giants come from Ymir. Here, as the giant Vafthrudnir says, from where the Bergelmir first came, the wise giant sons of giants. When poison from Elifagar splashed out in drops, it grew until forming a giant. From there all our clans have come. Therefore they are all so cruel. Interesting. Then Gangleri asked, how did the families grow from that point, or how did it come about that others came into being? And do you believe that the one whom you were just talking about is a god? Hai answered, in no way do we accept him as a god. He was evil, as are all his descendants. We call them frost giants. It is said that as he slept, he took to sweating. Then, from under his left arm grew a male and a female, while one of his legs got a son with the other. Alright, from here came the clans that are called the Frost Giants. The old Frost Giant, him we call Ymir. So, Ymir literally sweat out the other Frost Giants while he slept. That's quite the feat. We do have some footnotes here. In reference to Cirruses here. All the Cirruses are from Fidolf. It says here, Völur, sibyls who act as Cirruses or prophetesses. And under his left arm, that's a very specific thing, isn't it? The Icelandic word is hond, or hund, I suppose, meaning arm or armpit, as well as a hand. So they could have sprung from his left hand or from his left armpit. And this particular scholar chose to go with armpit, I guess. Okay. So this does go for quite a while, but why don't we go for maybe one or two more sections here. The primeval cow, Audhulma, Ymir, and the birth of Odin. Gangleri asked, where did Ymir live? And what did he live on? Next, it happened that as the icy rime dripped, the cow called Audhulma was formed. 4 rivers of milk ran from her udders, and she nourished Ymir. Then Gangleri asked, on what did the cow feed? I replied, she licked the blocks of ice, which were salty. As she licked these stones of icy rime that first day, the hair of a man appeared in the blocks towards the evening. On the second day came the man's head, and on the third day the whole man. He was called Buri, and he was beautiful, big, and strong. He had a son called Bor. I'm not sure by whom he had this son, but he had a son. Oh, it says it right there. Oh no. No, it definitely doesn't. Anyway, he had a son called Bor, who took as his wife the woman called Bestla. She was the daughter of Bolthorn, the giant, and they had 3 sons. One was called Odin, another Vili, and the third Ve, or V. It is my belief that this Odin and his brothers are the rulers of heaven and earth. We know that is his name, and it is what we call the one whom we know to be the greatest and the most renowned, and you too can easily call him that. So, I've got a lot of questions about that, but that's just how mythologies be a lot of the time. Some things are justified and sort of have some kind of logical basis, and some things just kind of are. Alright. I think this will be our last section. Section 7, Bergelmir and the appearance of the second race of frost giants. Then Gangleri asked, how did they get on together? Who among them was the most powerful? The sons of Bor killed the giant Ymir, answered Hai. When he fell, so much blood gushed from his wounds that with it they drowned all the race of the frost giants except for one who escaped with his household. The giants call that one Bergelmir. He, together with his wife, climbed up onto his wooden box, and there they kept themselves safe. From them come the races of the frost giants, as is said here. Countless winters before the earth was created, back then Bergelmir was born. That is the first I remember, when the wise giant was placed on the box. From the Lay of Vafthrudnir, part 35. And we do have a couple of footnotes about this one as well. The wooden box part, that's kind of curious, isn't it? The word luor has several meanings. I translate luor as wooden box because the word also means a stand for holding a hand mill. That is the wooden box that surrounds the millstone into which the ground flour falls. This box could function as a vessel. It is also somewhat like a coffin, and the usage of the word in this line carries the imagery both of a boat and of death. Another meaning for luor is a trumpet, but I suppose that wouldn't make too much sense in this context. And the reference to countless winters. The passage of years was counted by winters. There's a sense to that. I could see why that would be the case. So this goes on. The world is created from Ymir's body. We haven't even gotten to the creation of the world yet somehow it was all flooded by giant's blood. Interesting that we have a flood myth. This one being significantly more metal than, the Great Flood and Noah's Ark. Well, actually, that's pretty metal too. I don't know. But, it's an interesting parallel. But it goes on. Men are created. Asgard is built. Night and day. Sun and moon. Asgard and the origin of the dwarves. There's so much. It's honestly really fascinating. And as I said, I've only ever really read excerpts, bits and pieces before. I've never actually sat down and just read through like this. This is really, really cool, you guys. I'm really enjoying this, but we're going to have to wrap it up for now, I think. If you would like to hear more of this, if you would like more mythological readings, you can let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. But also, you can go check out Nightly ASMR. Again, night like a knight in shining armor. Nightly ASMR, who is our awesome community member who requested this video as his prize for winning my Twitch partner celebration stream giveaway. Twitch.tv/the ASMR Nerd, by the way, if you'd like to join us there. Awesome group of people, lots of fun. I stream on Thursday and Sunday evenings Pacific time. There's a link for that down in the video description as well. And of course, there's a link to Nightly ASMR's channel down there. Please, guys, check him out. He's just starting. He's got some really cool ideas and a really lovely reading of the Iliad up already. So take a look, give him a sub, and expect some more great stuff from him there. Alright, oh, and don't forget about that giveaway. If you happen to still be awake, and it happens to still be the day that I put this video out, then you might still have time to go and sign up for the gaming ASMR giveaway that I'm participating in with a bunch of other creators. So please click through on that link down below as well and get yourself signed up for that. Who knows? Who knows? You might win. You could win. Alright, my friends, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look very forward to having you back here next time. Farewell for now, my friends.